helping him learn how to like manage himself, but also defending him from kids who are just really mean. So I think, I'm also very aware that he's the only black person in the class. So there's a lot of
things. In the entire class? He's the only one in the whole class?
In that class,
oh, wow.
like 10 kids, I want to say. Yeah, he's the only black student in that class. No, there's 16 in this class. 16 kids in this class.
16, you said?
16, 1-6, yeah. So, it's a lot of things going on. Lots of things going on here.
Well,
like,
let's be
irritated with Antonio, and I'm like, hold on.
I had other questions. I don't know if you answered them on the comments, but I think you had a similar question listed there. When the students come in, do they get to choose which role they sit at, or is that kind of determined with?
So they don't know when I'm doing. So I think one thing that we talked about a lot, you and I, Jamie, was like, when do you do these group roles, or when do we not do them? And I decided this year I'm only going to use group roles when we're doing a really important group activity. And so the little sticky dots are always on their desks, but we don't use them every day. So they sit wherever they want. They sit in that group, and they can sit wherever they want in that group. But we don't use the sticky dots every day. So kids aren't usually coming in and going, oh, I want to be reporter today or whatever. So they usually just sit in a random place on the group, and then they look. Once they realize, oh, we're doing a group activity, then they find out what they are.
That's cool.
Do you do anything strategically around that of like, okay, I know that like this kid who I want to be facilitator is sitting at the red dot, so red dot is facilitator?
I haven't done that yet. Okay. No. I just usually, where they sit, where they land, that's where they land so far. Yeah.
Well, let's name some strengths and highlights that we saw in this video, and Asim, you start.
I think that I feel really proud of Alex, and I've built him up a lot, the student in the middle. As we've gone through the year, I've built him up a lot in his ability to lead. I think he is a natural leader, and he has a lot of leadership skills, and I'm trying to help him bolster that. But he does so many things that are fun to watch, and it was cool to like look back and see him. I can even just see like video of him posturing and trying to be like, hey guys, like, you know, like he's very much trying to lead the group, and trying to steer them in the right direction. So I like that. I am glad that I gave them, the opportunity to use the algebra tiles. I think that was really helpful, and having them write on the desks was really helpful because they can all have their own copy of it and just write right on top of it. Part of me is wondering whether I should have just had them have one set of algebra tiles in the middle, but those are the main couple things that I'm thinking. I like the structure of the activity. I think that doing this as a checkpoint in Hollyhock was really a good structure. And yeah, that's what I got for right now. My computer is about to die, and I have my iPad, and I'm going to log in on my iPad, so I'm going to try to do it before it dies, but we can keep going. Just letting you know if I disappear or something.
Julia and Jamie, what were some strengths and highlights you saw?
I was impressed by so you did the huddle thing, and then the girl came back from the huddle and then was like, I've got news. And she was like, we're all doing it wrong, or whatever she said. And I feel like I've been trying to do the huddle because I think it's a really cool thing. But like often the kid comes back and just like sneaks back into the chair and like nothing went on. And I'm like, hey, we like talked about something. So I was like, well, one, I'm curious about like what work you did around that, or maybe that's just her or whatever. But then I also thought it was cool that she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there was so much power in how you did that, and with the students, like you must word it away. I feel like I never get that reaction, so I was like, word it that they feel so excited with the information that they come back with. We tried it. Students just seemed like, okay, we need to do this next. But then also, I appreciate that in the beginning of the video where you were like, you recognize your own mistakes in front of the students and you're open about that because that opens up the classroom and allows students to make mistakes too and recognize their own mistakes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I never did that before Hollyhock, so I really like doing that in different ways.
I was excited that like they, even though there were some moments of off-taskness and some weirdness, like for the most part they were doing what you asked them to do. And like there was especially one moment in there, I think there was like a 15, 20 second length of time where every student contributed a mathematical idea and like shared their math idea. And I feel like that's huge for 9th graders and 5 of them and probably kids who haven't done much group work before. Like it's really cool that this was in the first 4 weeks of school, that like you already have so much of the structures and expectations set up that like, yeah, there's some things to tweak, but like in general, they're bought into the group work.
Yeah. I think that that's something that I'm a strength that I would see for this year in general is that I have picked a focus and I picked it with Hollyhock and I've stuck with it. So I'm sticking with group work. I set up a lot of structures at the beginning of the year. Like Julie's talking about the kid doing the huddle. Like I really made huddles feel like if you're reporter, oh my gosh, do I have a job for you? Like you get to do it.
And like they stuck to those roles. Like you even noted in the video, like Alex starts to get up and then he's like, no, not me.
Job. Yeah, exactly. So I think that because they're 9th graders and because they like to feel special, I played that angle, and I feel like they're into the expectations of group roles. They get the expectation.
That's awesome.
Some of the expectation.
But even at like some is a good starting place to be able to leverage more.
Right.
All right, Asim, you had posed a question in your tags. I'm curious about what I could have done to structure this activity more in such a way to support the various learners in this group. Mm-hmm. And then also how to balance so that you have the bandwidth to notice what's going on. Is that still the question you want us to take up?
Yeah, and even more the first one than the second one. Like, I'm really interested in structure. So even like when we were talking about Jamie's video and we were talking about like what task or what structure, that's why that caught my ear, because I'm like, well, I'm thinking about the same kind of idea. I know that, yes, we talked about different participation structures, but I'm even talking about a little bit more finely. Like, looking at this task, we know it's a checkpoint task where they have to like check in with me step by step. And then I call a huddle and stuff like that. But what about the task lent itself or didn't lend itself to a productive conversation for most of the task time? I feel like there's a lot of off-task time, and I'm wondering if there's anything about the structure of the task that lent to that, or is it just, do you guys feel like it's just, getting to know the kids and needing to address all these issues, or what might have lent to that?
I feel like I think about this all the time because like in Hollyhock, where we went through certain tasks and we asked ourselves what made something group worthy. And even when we were trying this for the first time, I remember that we all approached it separately. And then we'd be like, I got an idea. And then someone else would say that they had an idea. And we really just checked in when someone had an idea, but we didn't need each other to figure stuff out. The only part that we really needed each other for was the fact that it was a challenging task. So I think that it's definitely something I'm working on, but what I try to do for tasks like that now is give them one worksheet and then make the student who's most off task be the scribe, so that I always tell our class that that's the only handwriting I should see on this paper. If anyone else is handwriting, they're going to have to rewrite it, because then that student who has the most difficulty staying on task always has to come back at least to write down the ideas. And even if people are telling them what to write, I think it helps them then want to pay attention or figure out, okay, like, why are they writing it this certain way? And they're reading it as they're writing it. But I try to think about, like, who specifically takes on certain roles.
So that's kind of like even what Geeta was saying before about being more specific about who is going to be that role. Because maybe I'm trying to think of like with the stick